President's remarks, first of all, are welcome. I think he's referring to what we call STEMI, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and innovation, which if you invest in, we can quickly reach the target $500 billion economy that we are looking at in the few years he has targeted. While he has made a correct diagnosis that scientists need support, in my view, as a scientist, because I'm a clinical trialist, developing drugs and discovering drugs, he has made a solution which may not take us far. Scientists right now, what they need is one, numbers. We need to invest in numbers. We need to invest in more than 10,000 PhDs every year. And many of those should be discovery work. Scientists need support to have equipment. If we talk about PhDs, I've just concluded my PhD a few years ago, but in my cohort, I've never seen the government of Uganda sponsored even one student and saying we have sponsored fully this PhD as government of Uganda. Most of them have scholarships from abroad, you know, UK, US. Personally, I had mine from Canada. That's very important that we have our own. If we're going to have our sovereignty, we invest in our PhDs, very many. Two, the president should invest in equipment. I know groups of scientists who are highly trained. Like there's one in UVRI there. They have discovered a vaccine for CCHF. However, they need a small thing called GMP, mini GMP. Very little money. Who is getting the money? Magola, the coffee man. Those are not scientists. Those are businessmen talking good language. Scientists don't know how to talk. Give them equipment. The third thing that scientists need, I put some notes here, is create employment for them. Make it attractive. It is not helpful to say that scientists, when they have no jobs.
All right, Doctor, I want to come in here and try to understand. When we talk about scientists, for example, you just said that Day Biopharma is not a scientist, is an entrepreneur, is a businessman. Now, what is the proper definition of a scientist? Also, once we get the proper definition of who a scientist is, do they need to be tax exempt like the UPDF soldiers are, like the judges are?
Yes, you can tax exempt. Okay? But who is a scientist first? An engineer, for instance. They can be mechanical, civil engineer. Those who built that bridge in Jinja, that very nice, wonderful bridge, those are scientists. They can be basic scientists like immunologists who will discover vaccines, virologists who study viruses. For example, at the UVRI there. Okay? They studied COVID, they developed diagnostics and so on. Okay? They can be actually medics, for instance, who give service delivery and discover a better method of, for example, treating blood pressure. And they are needed in the value chain. When you discover, for example, a vaccine, they are the ones to test it in humans. So that's the broad range of scientists. They can be innovators such as ICT, or they can be mathematicians who give us models which can predict, for instance, the weather in the next few years, or whether we are going to have inflation and so on. Those are mathematicians. So there is that abbreviation called STEMI: science, technology, engineering, mathematicians, and innovators. That is scientists. As to whether the incentive will make a change.
And I want to practically understand, for example, when you talk about scientists and them being tax exempt, what will it do to the other people who are doing non-sciences? Aren't you really demoralizing the rest of us who are not doing sciences? But also, you have a whole economy that is relying on entrepreneurship, not necessarily sciences, as much as we need them. What is it doing to those people that are doing non-sciences?
So the two go together. The two go together. One, let's take the bridge of Jinja. It is a tourist attraction because of the artists. But the scientists or engineers made the bridge. Let's look at a $1 trillion company like Apple. Apple is full of artificial intelligence and a lot of science to advance the product. But to sell beyond the age of, say, Samsung or the others is because of art. They have invested in art, how the product looks. Let's look at tourism. We have vets, we have agriculturalists who take care of the animals in the park and the plants there in the park. But the artists are the ones who market tourism. The workers and so on. But the point I wanted to make, which perhaps is very, very important, the president should invest in equipment. Those who have discovered, like these ones here in UVRI, they have discovered VCHF vaccine. They need money to go ahead with their discovery and produce it. If you give them a salary, whatever, yeah, it's good. But they will just take salary and buy better cars. Yet they need money to actually advance their equipment. The president can set up grants, not only through Makerere University, but through NARO. You have seen NARO, they have discovered this vaccine for ticks. Uganda National Health Research Organization can have grants to give scientists independently. Government,
I can see your point that perhaps maybe we need to invest in STEM. If it is science, technology, innovation, mathematics. I did IT, information in technology. It should be a science. I'm doing journalism. I don't know.
Following strong opposition from politicians, civil society organizations, religious leaders and economists against the Sovereignty Bill 2026, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni came out to explain to the public the instructions he had given to Attorney General Chiryowa Kiwanuka and the Minister of State for Internal Affairs David Muhoozi regarding the drafting and presenting the bill to Parliament. However, political commentators including George Musisi and Rogers Barigayomwe say this is not the first time senior officials in Museveni's government have faced resistance over provisions in bills introduced by the president.
There are people who intervene and then add in their own things. Has it stopped with only this one, or there have been other business which have not caused uproar, where the president's mind, quote unquote, or even the executive's mind has been changed?
This is a precursor and a dangerous direction of our country, of which the ramifications are dangerous.
They argue that as it stands, the bill should be shelved.
The decent thing that would have been done would have been for the ministers to withdraw this, because right now we don't know what the committee is considering. Is it considering what the public gave on the other earlier draft? Is it considering the president's orders? Or is it considering a new amendment as brought by the Attorney General, which the public has not had the chance to make an input in?
They further state that the country is currently facing many pressing issues that require urgent attention rather than spending time on a bill that has already sparked widespread controversy.
If they want to work, there are more important bills, especially bills of transition, are needed more than this.
Meanwhile, some members of parliament who sit on the relevant committee have reassured Ugandans that when the bill is tabled before parliament next week, it will be scrutinized clause by clause to avoid falling into loopholes that have previously been exploited in other controversial bills.
If we find that the amendments they have made and whatever they have removed from the bill leaves the bill an empty tin which has no gist, we will throw it away entirely. Lessons from past instances like the Public Order Management Bill, when it was a bill, and the people who legislated it, and when it became an act, I was in Jinja at my home, and there was a politician heading to Mbale, Ferrari, and was stopped at the bridge by power of the Public Order Management Act, which he had helped legislate.